Hello. I posted a sneak preview of Nintendo Switch 6 years in earlier today, and the description said it would be premiering tonight. But with this being about like 2 hours, 10 minutes or so, it's pretty much the same length as like last year's. Yeah, it's taken a while to go through it and polish it up and make sure there's no issues with it. The process I'm in right now, I call polishing, where the video is done, but I have to go through it in its entirety and just make all the little adjustments. And pretty much all the videos this year have taken significantly longer for me to polish than I'm used to. It's probably because they're a lot longer and just a lot more complicated stuff going on there. There's also a funny thing with the computer I have right now. Hello. I upgraded to like a Mac Studio, and it's a really weird thing. Come on, man, get off my keyboard. It's a really weird thing with not only the Mac Studio, but pretty much any modern like Apple computer, anything that uses Apple Silicon in it. Final Cut, when it comes to larger projects, there's a higher chance Final Cut will like fail the export, and there will be like a random frame like randomly in the project that's corrupted. It's just one frame, and you need to find it and just cut it out of the video. Just cut it out. That was a problem with like Childhood Game Collection. A couple frames were randomly like corrupted, and I just had to go in, I had to cut it out. There was nothing else I think I could really do. Any YouTube tutorials I've looked up. What are you doing? Any YouTube tutorials I've looked up have pretty much just said like, yep, that's what you gotta do. You just gotta cut the frame out somehow. So with this being 2 hours long, I'm not gonna lie to myself anymore and be like, oh yeah, it'll definitely get done tonight. But man, like I got a Halloween special I gotta put out too before the end of October. Yeah, I'm gonna take it easy here, and I'm really sorry for being too optimistic about certain release dates. I'm trying to learn to keep my mouth shut, but sometimes I'm excited and I just want to let everybody know. The episode is done, but it's done in the sense that it's content complete, and I could export it right now, but there's a chance something's gonna be wrong with it. So I like to go through. There you go, and make sure everything is okay and fix any mistakes and all of that. But as a consolation prize, here's the entirety of March in the episode. So hopefully that's pretty cool. And also on Scott's Stash tonight, you'll get like a really big 2-hour video that was once exclusive to the trading card. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, this is definitely coming out tomorrow. And I will make sure this Halloween special gets out by Halloween night. It's just a goofy, fun little Halloween special. So really sorry about missing deadlines this year. But I've been trying to make it up in various ways. And hopefully this is a fun little reward for seeing a description today that said it would come out tonight. In reality, it's coming out tomorrow. I'm very, very sorry.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Remember when you were 6? Bet you remember doing some pretty off-the-wall stuff. Learning to ride a bike, slumber parties, releasing the worst stupid-ass Mario Strikers Battle League you could release, puppet shows. The Nintendo Switch is only 26 years away from being 32. I think you know the drill by now. It's time for a look at everything revolving around this console from March 2022 to February 2023. And if you know me, you know I have my own funny little made-up language where the word everything stands for Nintendo Switch Sports and very little else. March was when words became title with the release of Triangle Strategy, the latest HD 2D game by Square Enix, though published by Nintendo outside of Japan. So while I generally don't play a ton of turn-based strategy games, Kirby and the Forgotten Land! The first 3D mainline Kirby game launched this month, and it was incredible. They went above and beyond with this title. You can feel the passion and polish oozing from this thing every second you're playing it. I think it's incredible how, with this being the first 3D Kirby, it doesn't feel like it. This is so natural and well done. You'd think Kirby's been 3D this whole damn time. And Forgotten Land could have just coasted along on that gimmick alone. They could have made this a pretty generic Kirby theme-wise due to this being such a new direction for the franchise. But they introduced so many new concepts and gameplay mechanics that by themselves would have warranted this being a new game, even if it was still just 2D Kirby. But no, it just all adds together to make this one of the best Kirby games of all time, which is something Triangle Strategy could never be. Alright, so this is a good game, but from my experience, it's only really going to appeal to those who look at it and finger wiggle. If you love classic tactical RPGs, emphasis on classic, emphasis on ass, this is for you. For me, I found the pacing to be ridiculously slow. I mean, like the first 6 hours, you only get into like 2 battles, and while the gameplay works well, it doesn't entice me enough to warrant crawling through a cutscene for over an hour. This is a quality game that knows its audience and doesn't try to be something it isn't, which, while making it a hard pill to swallow for newcomers, is a dream come true for retro tactical RPG fans. And for myself, as far as hard pills go, this was a choking hazard. Obviously, Forgotten Land was more my speed this month. I just can't get over how well they knocked this one out of the park. Even things that would be easy to criticize, I just can't. Enemies in the background run at a choppy frame rate, but I find that charming, if anything. Evolving abilities, mouthful mode offering a large variety of gameplay scenarios throughout the stages, the surprisingly challenging and addicting Treasure Road side missions, the Waddle Dee Town hub world, the gorgeous visuals, phenomenal soundtrack. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is amazing, and for somebody who's been wanting a 3D Kirby for as long as they can remember, it exceeded my expectations. My expectations were this, but still, with those 2 titles, it was definitely a busy month for Nintendo. But yeah, the first wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC on top of it, and it becomes damn near still pretty manageable, but that's a lot of stuff. Yes, announced during the February 2022 Nintendo Direct and releasing on March 18th, Wave 1 of the Booster Course Pass was met with a police report. And while a lot of issues were evident from the initial trailer, they all kind of sunk in when the DLC finally released. These tracks were not at the same quality as those from the base game. What Nintendo seemed to do was repurpose many of the assets from Mario Kart Tour on mobile for these tracks, which meant a whole lot of... This is a little shitty. And none of the first 8 tracks released are bad. It's just in comparison to what we've gotten from Mario Kart 8 before, a good handful of these are just plainly bland layout-wise, and due to the more simple visuals, feel somewhat empty and soulless. Toad Circuit from 3DS is so basic to race on, and graphically does the bare minimum. The grass is completely flat with no texture. The trees and rocks are so choppy looking compared to previous Mario Kart 8 tracks, and the only bits of detail on this course were ripped from those Mario Kart 8 tracks. Now, this isn't the case with all of Wave 1. Paris Promenade from Mario Kart Tour has a better look to it and far more detail, though still not up to snuff with the base game. But it does something cool, since most original Mario Kart Tour tracks are a bit shorter, plus have multiple variants. They made this one change its layout with every lap, which I think was a great idea to incorporate those variants and help make these courses stand out so much more. Like Tokyo Blur from Mario Kart Tour. Everybody loves Tokyo Blur from Mario Kart Tour. Quick, name your favorite thing about Tokyo Blur from Mario Kart Tour. Oh, just the massive amounts of Tokyo Blur energy I get from it. Ninja Hideaway from Tour is a great inclusion. It's one of the few tracks from that game that's really damn special, though its layout strangely doesn't feel as refined as other courses. It honestly feels more like a custom track a fan would make for Mario Kart Wii than an official one, but it's still quite good. Shroom Ridge DS is good, albeit bland visually. Coconut Mall Wii is a fantastic inclusion and has a solid enough visual style that it makes the lower end graphics less noticeable. Same with Choco Mountain N64. Though Sky Garden GBA, my lord! What a nothing track this is. We already have a great cloud-based course in the game. We have great Game Boy Advance remakes in the game. This is neither. At the very least, the music is phenomenal across all the DLC. The visuals may have taken a hit, but the soundtrack quality remained. Wave 1 was a pretty mixed bag overall. It's great to have more Mario Kart 8 content, and even if the tracks are lacking overall, the worst Mario Kart course is better than most kart racers' best. It's just half of these feel like filler. They didn't really make a ton of changes to the non-tour tracks. In fact, none of Wave 1 incorporated Mario Kart 8's main gimmick, anti-gravity, which helped make the returning tracks in the base game feel so fresh. And the only upgrades they did make to these courses were present in their Mario Kart Tour versions, which just really hit home that these are basically mobile game tracks polished up a bit to fit in Mario Kart 8. Which, yeah, you gotta admit, can be kind of deflating. But at the same time, I'd rather get these tracks than not get them at all. It's really smart of Nintendo to reuse assets like this because it's effective. It's something in demand. We've all wanted more Mario Kart content, and eventually, since Mario Kart Tour requires online to play, all that work they did to remaster tracks and make new ones will all go offline. And whenever Mario Kart Tour content was announced, everybody would go, man, why isn't this in Mario Kart 8? So they put them in here. It's probably being done by a younger development team as a training wheels project to learn track design for future Mario Kart titles. It adds value to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack subscription since it's included here. It just makes all the sense in the world. And while I wish these courses were the same quality as the others, they're still good tracks at the very least, even if they can be forgettable and kind of boring sometimes. But if me getting more Mario Kart content means Toad Circuit 3DS has to be Toad Circuit 3DS, I mean, I am in hell, but man, there's a nice old sucker down here. Speaking of kart racers, Square Enix released Chocobo GP this month.
Still here.
All we have here is a decent Final Fantasy kart racing spin-off and sequel to the PS1 game Chocobo Racing from 1999. I could have sworn there were more of these. GP looks and plays pretty well, though it's really hard for me to recommend it because it's literally just a less polished, less good, and less fun Mario Kart. And when you're priced at 50 bones, I just start to ask questions. Especially when there's such aggressive microtransactions baked into the experience. I mean, is there any reason for a $50 release to have me spend money on it like this?
Well, yeah, but the game isn't calling me cute.
Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, a fighting game spin-off of Persona 4 from 2014, got a re-release on Switch because what better way to follow up a fighting game that's not on Switch, that was a follow-up to an RPG that's not on Switch, which followed up the entire backlog of Persona games that aren't on Switch, that was later followed up by Persona 5, which is not on Switch, which got a follow-up hack and slash on Switch, then with a fighting game on Switch.
Damn, you got me.
And at long last, Rune Factory 5 launched this month. Remember when this was announced during a Nintendo Direct in February of 2019? Neither do I. Well, 3 years later, it's finally here. Moving on. When it comes to news, the biggest story of March easily was the delay of Breath of the Wild 2. While it was announced to be coming this year, Nintendo released a video explaining how they needed just a bit more time to make the game something special, promising a revised spring 2023 release date. With this delay, Breath of the Wild 2 will have taken longer from announcement to launch than the original Breath of the Wild, which is insane! Of course, real-world events definitely did a number to the title's production, but I mean, regardless, they have barely shown any reason as to why this game is taking so long. It's reusing assets. Hell, the map is the same as the first one. Well, I think it's all part of Nintendo's little marketing game, you know? One of the things that made the original Breath of the Wild so special was how much there was to discover on your own. It brought back so many to the playground trading secrets. Please not literally. And the fact that everybody is already sold on Breath of the Wild 2 due to the mere fact it's Breath of the Wild 2 means Nintendo's obviously holding back a ton about this game to keep that element of surprise, especially when you first start playing, which is not why they also delayed Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp this month. Originally meant to release in December of 2021, getting delayed to April and getting further delayed to an unspecified day due to real-world events clashing with the theming of the game, which is unprecedented for the Advance Wars series. Oh. Well, at least the Nintendo Switch's system software got some love this month. You ever notice Anarchy's been at an all-time low since March 21st?
Yeah, it looks a little better.
Well, that's because Nintendo finally added folders to the Switch home screen. Or, more accurately, groups. Don't want to step on Mead's toes. Yeah, so the only way to access these is by going to your full game library and selecting the groups option at the top, which makes this feature a bit less useful than it could have been. It does help with organizing certain types of software, but why couldn't it have been on the main home screen? I mean, you put this slow-ass Nintendo Switch Online portal on there that had no point until this month, actually, where you can now exchange your My Nintendo Platinum points for exclusive Switch user icons.
Why are you still depressed?